Wizards of the Coast just dropped a big update on the future of independent D&D content, so let's talk about it. Okay, so on May 7th, 2024, Wizards of the Coast officially announced that they will be releasing an updated system reference document into the Creative Commons. What this means is that third-party content creators may continue to publish their own products, like Ryoko's Guide to the Yokai Realms, Dungeons of Drakkenheim, or Delve. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but it totally could be. Bob? All using the updated 5e rule set, which I guess WotC is now simply referring to as the 2024 revision of 5e, which rolls right off the tongue, and is kind of odd, especially considering that while the revised Player's Handbook and DM's Guide are coming at the end of this year, 2024, the Monster Manual won't be released until February of 2025. Okay, so wait, why does this matter? Well, the SRD is basically the skeleton of D&D, which has been and will likely continue to be the most popular tabletop RPG on the market. In the past, Wizards of the Coast has maintained an open game license, which allows indie publishers to use the SRD to create their own D&D compatible material, or even brand new games altogether, like Pathfinder or Old School Essentials. But earlier last year, Wizards of the Coast went full corpo mode and tried to revoke the open game license. In doing so, Wizards shattered 20 plus years of good faith in the industry and nearly eradicated the opportunity for any future independent publishers to make a living designing and selling their own products based on the SRD, like Paizo and others have done. And look, the rest is basically history at this point. The entire community rallied against this decision, and ultimately Wizards reversed course, reverted things back to the way that they always have been, and then even took things a step further by placing the 5e system reference document into the Creative Commons. In WotC's own words, the Creative Commons is a nonprofit that writes open source licenses. These licenses are standardized, widely accepted, and trusted around the world. The license that WotC chose to use is irrevocable and Wizards cannot modify it, unlike the OGL, the document that Wizards wrote themselves and tried to redact last year. I gotta say, in my opinion, moving the SRD into the Creative Commons was a surprisingly positive move on Wizards' part, but by this point the damage had already been done, and creators like myself remain skeptical of WotC's attitude towards third-party content publishing to this day. Having said all of that, this most recent announcement does seem to confirm that Wizards of the Coast are planning to actually make good on their promise and continue to support third-party content creation going forward. But for anyone planning on doing so, it is important to note that, like the current SRD 5.1, SRD 5.2 only covers the rules and systems of D&D, and it does not include any lore references. This means that if you want to create and publish content that takes place within official settings like the Forgotten Realms or Planescape, for example, your only option is to do so via the DM's Guild. Although I would never recommend anyone do that ever, and let me go ahead and explain why. Okay, so weirdly enough, even though the SRD has been moved into the Creative Commons, the OGL itself still exists, and Wizards still gives us the option to publish our content using the OGL. I know, it gets pretty confusing pretty quickly, especially when you take a look at WotC's official explanation on the D&D website. Currently, there are 3 different ways a creator can publish their own third-party D&D material: under the OGL, under the Creative Commons, or on the DM's Guild, which is Wizards' own online marketplace for third-party content. But this is all needlessly complicated. WotC tries to make it seem like there's no difference between the first 2 methods, but there is actually a massive difference. Unlike the Creative Commons, Wizards still has the ability to modify or revoke the OGL at any time. So there is literally zero reason to ever publish your own D&D content under the OGL ever again. To put it simply, if you want to publish your own original D&D content, use the SRD that's under the Creative Commons, and WotC will never be able to interfere with it. That's it, period. But if you want to publish content that uses official D&D settings or monsters or characters like the Beholder or Lolth the Spider Queen, for example, your only option is to do so via the DM's Guild. Now, Wizards tries to make the DM's Guild sound like it's an attractive option by teasing certain benefits to their publishers, like being considered for inclusion in official D&D material or being featured in official promotional content. But what they neglect to mention is that WotC actually has the right to use anything that's published on the DMs Guild for their own purposes without getting the creator's permission, without giving the creator any credit, and they are not obligated to compensate the creator for using this content in any way. So yeah, as much as I wish I was able to publish my own adventures in the Forgotten Realms, which is a setting that I do genuinely love, the potential for WotC to legally plagiarize my work is not a condition that I will ever personally abide by, and I don't think that you should either. In this latest update, WotC also goes on to clarify that the new SRD 5.2 will be a totally separate thing from the old SRD 5.1. This means that you can continue to use the old original 5e rules if you wish, and anything that you've already published under those rules will remain kosher. What's most interesting to me though is their explanation of why they're calling this the SRD 5.2 rather than something like 5.5 or SRD 6. They say that this new SRD still encompasses the 5th edition rule set, just with key updates from the 2024 core rulebooks. SRD 5.2 will remain compatible with existing products. This is consistent with their previous messaging, and it's obvious that WotC doesn't want to move away from 5e, but what do they mean by key updates? Will certain aspects of the new rule set be omitted from the SRD 5.2 altogether? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Finally, we also get a very quick update on the promise that WotC made to add the SRDs for older editions of D&D into the Creative Commons as well. Long story short on that, they say that they can't release them until they've had a chance to review them, and they're waiting to review them until after the 2024 rules revisions have all been officially released. I'm pretty sure they just want to make sure that they're not accidentally releasing any IP like Beholders or Mind Flayers or whatever into the Creative Commons with these older licenses, but I don't know. Like anything WotC says these days, take it with a grain of salt and only believe it when you see it. Regardless, I am glad that indie D&D publishers will be able to create products using the updated version of 5e should they choose to do so. And while I personally feel that exploring and embracing other systems outside of D&D is a healthy thing for this entire community, I also strongly believe that the more options creators have to create, the better. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and until next time, venture forth!